If you go to notebooklm.google.com, then you can get access to this. And this is actually much better than whatever the heck you were going to get in the Gemini app. And I highly recommend you actually check this out because this is very interesting. So I already have this open here in this tab. So you upload files here. You can add sources. I can add I think you can add up to like 10. Yeah, I don't know. In Gemini, it's like 10, but here it may be even more. Websites, YouTube videos, your Google Drive, your Google Slides. You could add your business plan here, your website to your competitor, a YouTube video about, a TED Talk that you like, and then any text that you want, and then also a PDF. So I uploaded the 33 Strategies of War. Once you do that, it gives you a little summary, and then you can do a mind map, and you can do an audio overview, and then you can add notes. So this audio overview this is what they were talking about in the launch. For some reason, I'm not able to get it. I tried uploading the 33 Strategies of War and getting it to audio overview that, but it wasn't working. So I don't know. Maybe it was too big anyways, it works here. So, and this is very interesting. So it does a podcast style type of audio overview. And I did instructions specifically to I asked it about, isn't there, you can ask questions about the PDF. And since I've read the book, I understand, I remember some stories from there. Isn't there a story about the beginning of the United States, of the formation of the United States, about John Hancock, I remember. And then it'll correct me. It'll correct me because it was actually about Samuel Adams. Based on the provided sources, there isn't a specific story about John Hancock in the very beginning of the formation of the United States. However, the sources do extensively discuss the actions of Samuel Adams, who was a key figure in the lead up to the American Revolution and the growing sentiment for independence from England. Here's what the sources highlight about Samuel Adams' role, which may be related to what you're thinking about. Early belief in independence, opposition to the Stamp Act, the Sons of Liberty, and then this, I did an audio overview based on specifically about Samuel Adams. And then this is what it came up with. And it's a 14-minute long one. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but here's what it is. This is like a podcast style audio overview.
Have you ever thought about how history, it often feels like these massive, unstoppable forces at play, right? But how often do you think it's actually just one person, one individual with a real vision and a knack for strategy? They actually kind of steered the whole thing.
It's a great point, yeah.
When you think of someone like Samuel Adams, talk about a name that's totally intertwined with the birth of the USA. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So today we're doing something a little different. We're not just revisiting his story. We're going to look at it through this really cool lens, using some insights from the 33 Strategies of War.
Ooh, interesting.
And I know it might sound kind of weird to apply war strategies to something like political organizing, but trust me, the parallels we're going to find are pretty surprising.
I'm intrigued.
And for you listening, whether you're trying to navigate some crazy negotiations at work or just trying to understand how these big social movements actually gain traction, or even if you're just curious about how history really works, understanding the strategic mind of someone like Samuel Adams, well, it's got some surprisingly relevant lessons.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think what we're doing here is really trying to cut through the noise, all that.
Wow, that actually sounds really realistic. I haven't heard that much of the recording before. I listened to 14 seconds before recording here, but that is the brass and the guy randomly chirping in, and he could say a bit more, but it is what it is. And anyways, that's very interesting. So if you didn't want to read and you were lazy and you just wanted to know about that story, you can make a new audio overview and say, let me download this one. This one's actually really, really nice. And then I'm going to delete this really quick. Delete. And what I'm going to do is, and here's where you can customize it. So you can say focus on a specific story. You could say, if you have multiple sources in here, you can say focus on a specific source, and then you could say focus on a specific story. So focus on the story of Xenophon in this book, in this source. Boom. And it's going to generate the the conversation. So could take a few minutes. So if you're somebody that doesn't like to read, I recommend reading books, by the way. But you can read it, and then maybe you could have it generate a podcast for you so you can hear it too. The other thing while this is generating is that if you come back up here, you can make a mind map. And I was like, what? This is crazy. So I clicked on make a mind map, and then it generated this. And so here's a mind map, and it basically tells you the structure and outline of this book. And this is incredible. This is incredible, I gotta tell you. So you have the title of the book, and then you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of like the key concepts in this book. And the first one that it goes over is the self-directed warfare. So it's declare war on your enemies, identify who your enemies are, basically. So you have like a purpose of like, it's basically what the book talks about. It's like, if you identify your enemies, then you have a purpose for, you understand what you're not, basically, which is interesting, right? It's interesting. Wage inner warfare, battle your own weaknesses, think exponentially. So it breaks it down, and then it breaks it down even more. See, define identity by opposition. It's very interesting concept. I never thought about that. Necessity of resistance, enemies as a standard. Boom. Wage inner warfare, awareness of mental illness, declare war on yourself, continual battle on internal enemies. Think exponentially, adapt to circumstances. Frame of mind is crucial. Shift perspective, soul over numbers in battle. That's crazy. Organizational warfare. Let's take a look at this and expand that out. Create a feeling of shared destiny. One leader, one direction. Very interesting. If you're interested in this stuff, I was kind of just, somebody suggested reading this book, and I took it was a very interesting book to read. And so you can go through this, and it goes through all these concepts, and it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. But you can do this with any source, with any book. I'm going to go back here and let's see if this came up with here's a new podcast. It's 6 minutes long.
All right. Welcome to another deep dive where we take those sources you give us and we try to break them down, pull out the most important bits, and honestly, just help you make sense of it all without, getting bogged down.
You want those aha moments, right? You want to really grasp those concepts, and we get that. We're here to help you do exactly that.
Exactly. And today, the source we're diving into, well, one of them at least, is the 33 Strategies of War. Pretty intense title, right?
Definitely. And it's fascinating because it's not just about, literal warfare. It uses all these examples from history, famous battles, military leaders, all that. But it's really about applying those strategies to any kind of competition or challenge you might face.
Yeah. Like a playbook for, business negotiations, personal conflicts, even just trying to figure out, a tough problem at work, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive, so interesting. We're specifically going to be looking at how the 33 Strategies of War uses the story of Xenophon to illustrate some of its points.
Xenophon. Yeah, I've heard the name, but to be honest, I couldn't tell you much about him. So first things first, who was this guy?
Right. So Xenophon was a Greek
guy?
Historian and soldier who lived, around the 4th century BC. And he actually wrote a ton about his own experiences, including, this famous military retreat he led.
Retreat. So he was running away from a fight. Doesn't sound too strategic.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
The Them-3 Strategies of War actually focuses on how Xenophon used the fact that he was in this really, really tough spot to his advantage.
Oh, I see. So how does the book tie Xenophon?
Very interesting. Very interesting. I remember that story specifically, and it's going through the story like exactly like how it's going about it, but it's just talking about it. It's simplifying the story. It's very interesting. Very interesting. This is really smart. Anyways, so that's just kind of explain everything that's dropped yesterday, literally. 2 new features, Canvas and the audio overview. Again, for some reason, the audio overview was not working for me in the Gemini app, so I had to go to NotebookLM, which is a Google product. It's free, as far as I know, for me. NotebookLM.google.com. You can come here and mess with that. So I hope you learned something here. Google Gemini. Google's really trying to take over the game. I see. Let's see some analysis from me here. Basically, what I'm seeing is that Google's taking it's kind of keeping track of what's what's popping off in AI right now. When DeepSeek R1 came out, I think that really accelerated everybody in the space. And Google put out their Google Flash experimental out and 2.0 Pro experimental. And that, it was really powerful. And they made it free. So that's cutting ChatGPT, OpenAI out. That's even cutting DeepSeek R1, which also was free, but they made it really hard to access DeepSeek as a chat. And so, and you know, there was a lot of bad publicity around it. Like you can't ask certain questions to it. But if you go on my YouTube channel, you can actually see, you can install a local version and you can ask it that question and you can train it out of that question. You can provide new evidence, et cetera, et cetera. I show you how to install the local DeepSeek in this YouTube channel. So make sure you scroll down and check that out or look up here. And so what I'm seeing is that Google's trying to become like the everything app. Whoever's really putting these releases out is doing a really good job of becoming the leader without even marketing, really. They're not marketing. ChatGPT is marketing a lot. They're marketing a lot. Right now, everything's free for Google. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I think the next DeepSeek R2 that's going to come out, and then that's going to, again, destroy the AI world in the US. Everybody's going to have to innovate. ChatGPT's falling behind. Claude is too expensive. I'd say this is pretty good for coding. I'd say it's good enough. And the fact that it's free makes it really good. And those are my thoughts right now. As of right now, looking at this landscape. Tomorrow I'll also be covering NVIDIA. They have made a ton of advances. They had a GTC event yesterday as well. There's so much going on in the AI world, and I'm going to keep you updated. So hope you learned something. Take care.